One of the things that people do get really overwhelmed with when they're planning their wedding day timeline is they feel like they need to know everything that's going to happen. The truth is you don't.
That I feel good, doing things I never thought I could. Smiling in the mirror, I look good, like I should. I feel brand spanking new. I don't know about you, I feel good. I'm talking out, been working hard.
Welcome back. We're talking about wedding day timelines in this video. We're going to go over how to build a wedding day timeline, as well as I'm supposed to go over key reasons on why you need one, but truthfully, I think it's self-explanatory. I mean, if you have no timeline, this would be very difficult to navigate the wedding day, as well as your vendors have no clue what's going on. So obviously you need one. So that took me a second to set that up. I'll be honest, I'm not used to recording my screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of show you this. First of all, I just wanna talk about the free resource that we offer here. So you can scroll down on our website right here. This is our Omaha homepage. When you scroll down, under free resources, we have a date of wedding timeline template right here. When you click on it, there's a little form you gotta fill out. It's some contact info. I'm gonna reach out to you personally. I'm going to see if you have any questions about any of the resources you downloaded, or if you're looking at our prices, same thing, stuff like that. There's a chance that you book with us, so that's why I'm reaching out. But the truth is, these resources still are free no matter what. This is what that template looks like. It is just a clean, nice template. It's nothing crazy. This can all be adjusted as needed. But we're gonna talk about the actual planning of the timeline. So I'm gonna go ahead and click over here in a Word document, or in this case, it's a Google Sheets document. First of all, generally, you want to pick the most important part of the day, which is honestly going to be the ceremony, right? And you wanna kind of work back from there. So first of all, we have the ceremony, and I always abbreviate it with SARE. I don't know why, I have done that my whole life, so I will do that. Let's say your ceremony is at 4 o'clock. Sometimes this is, due to a church telling you what time it has to be. Sometimes this is the venue telling you what time it has to be. And sometimes this is something you choose. If you're trying to decide where to put your ceremony, there's a few things to consider. First of all, if you want to do family photos after the ceremony, you are going to want to make sure there's still sunlight out normally. Or if you're doing it in a church, sometimes they'll let you do photos in the church, but it's not as pretty. I'm just going to be honest, it's not as pretty as outside. That said, you'll want to do it in such a way that it's maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before the sunset. So 4 o'clock would be perfect if you had a 6 to 8 o'clock sunset. This gives you 30 minutes to an hour for the ceremony, and then you still have family photos, and you want to do your portraits of just you two and your wedding party and stuff like that, all before the sun sets. This is perfect. So I'm going to assume in this day that the sun is setting around 8. Most of the time, people do the family photos after the ceremony. So normally, ceremony is about 30 minutes long. So then after the ceremony, I'll put, I really should have done the time first, I'll be honest, but we're gonna keep doing this. Family photos, and we'll do that at 4:30, which truthfully, this will probably be 4:45-ish. A little tip for this, when the ceremony ends, have the DJ or officiant just say, hey, family, hang out here, everybody else get out of here. And that'll help keep people in their place when they need to be there for the family photos. Moving on. So family photos take about 45 minutes on average. Again, if your family is huge, a little more time wouldn't hurt. If your family is small, a little less time wouldn't hurt. Generally, I would say have about a 15-minute buffer time. So I normally tell people 5:30 would be safe to assume getting to the grand entrances if you were going straight to that. So I'm gonna put 5:30, but instead of doing grand entrances, we're gonna go to wedding party and couple photos, just because that's generally what we do. This is kind of what we see a lot here. So we'll just do wedding party. We'll do, wedding party photos. There we go. And we'll do that at 5:30. I might actually switch these around because it's bothering me. That makes me feel a lot better. 5:30, we have wedding party, and normally I put portraits here, so I'll just put and portraits. The truth is, I mean, I kind of just do them together. It's not like you have a specific amount of time that it takes either of them. It's kind of just whenever you're ready to move on from one to the other. The ceremony starts at 4, ends around 4:30. By like 5:15, you're done with family photos, move on to wedding party and portraits. And then normally, I would say 6 would be a great entrance time, just for safety, but sometimes I've seen this a little earlier, right? So it does work, it's just, typing and talking. 6, entrance. Generally, an hour and a half is what I tell people. 45 minutes for your family photos, 45 minutes for wedding party and portraits is a safe guess no matter what. So we're gonna enter now. Once we enter, and this is normally a grand entrance, you do the whole dancing thing, whatever, right? There's two ways you can do this. You can go into dance, like your first dance, or you can go into dinner. So those are the two ways that most people do it. You can do it other ways, but I'm gonna be honest, these are the most common. Most common, I'd say 80% of the time, people go into dinner. So that's what I'm gonna put here. It's up to you. If you wanna do it a different way, that's okay. Dinner is next. Oh my gosh, now I'm typing the other thing. We'll do a 6:15 dinner. Just because, truthfully, it doesn't take long to do the grand entrance and you don't want everybody waiting around, right? They've already been waiting an hour and a half that haven't eaten yet. You probably have some sort of snacks out, but yeah. After dinner, normally we have speeches. Dinner, I would say, this would be a better question for your DJ. Dinner, I normally give 45 minutes to an hour for everybody to get through the food line. It's normally quicker than that, but I'd rather have more time than less time. We're gonna say by 7, everybody will be through the food line. This would be a question for your DJ. Again, for the record, they're the ones that are used to doing this. They put people through the food line, stuff like that. They're gonna know a lot more about this. But that said, I would say 7. And then you're probably gonna do a cake cutting. I normally tell our clients, do the cake cutting after the speeches. This is that way, while people are eating, they're entertained by the speeches. You then do the cake cutting, and then by the time they finish eating, they now can have dessert. So cake cutting, we'll do 7. I will also say, give everybody that's doing a speech, give them a time limit. I normally tell people 3 minutes max. I think that's safe. I have had speeches go on for 15 plus minutes, so it screws up the timeline a little bit. So let's say you had everybody do a 3-minute max. It would take about 15 minutes for those speeches or less. I think that's perfect. 15 minutes would be 7:15. And you'll notice, for the record, I am doing about 15-minute increments or 30-minute increments. The reasoning behind that is I would rather give extra time than not enough time. We just talked about that, but please make sure you do that. Next, we're going to do first dance normally. So I'll put, we'll do cake cutting. Cake cutting takes like 5, maybe 10 minutes. So I'm gonna do 7:30, but sometimes day of, we go a little bit quicker on this. Next is going to be parent dances. I normally just say all of these are conjoined because you kind of just go one to the other, and that takes about 15 minutes total for all of them. So first dance into parent dances. Sunset is at 8. If you're finishing your parent dances and all that around, let's say 7:45, I would go for sunset photos right away. So sunset photos right here at 7:45. So right when you finish that, you'll jump into sunset photos. If you have our team there, we normally check outside multiple times during the last few hours here just to see where the sun's at, and we'll call you out when we need to. You come back in. This is where we would do tosses or any games, shoe game, dollar dance, dollar dash, whatever you decide to do. That would all be here. Generally do it right before you open the dance floor for the party, and that way you don't get people out and then kick them out and then bring them back out and then kick them out again. Dollar dance, dollar dash, I've seen a few games, so I'll put shoe game, and then we're gonna move into just open dance floor. But if you want any help with this, please just talk to us or talk to your wedding planner, and that will help you. The clock, we come back in, and this is going to be our shoe game. I also don't see this often, but I'm just gonna put it down just so you have an idea of some game here. And then open dance floor, and I would just open dance. Truthfully, the rest of the night is a party. You don't even have to think about it. The rest of the night's just fun. The only exception here is if you decide to do an exit or a last dance or something like that. I'm not gonna do anything here as far as the timeline goes, but if you wanted an idea of that, I was just trying to give you a premise of it. Next, we're gonna work backwards from the ceremony. So as you can see, we kind of just went from ceremony down. Now we're gonna work backwards up. Ceremony, 4 o'clock again. Before that, you need a 30-minute buffer time. I, without fail, will recommend this to everybody. Things go wrong all the time. You wanna have some sort of buffer. Also, if you have a videographer and photographer, they need time to go to the ceremony location and scout out where they're gonna stand and talk to each other to make sure they're not getting in each other's way. Video-wise, we need to set up audio equipment for the officiant, for the groom, for the bride, for the whole works. I also set up extra cameras on tripods. We need time to set up, so 30 minutes is a minimum buffer time, no matter what. So 3:30 will be our buffer time. If there's travel time, you'll wanna account for that travel time. If you were going from a venue to a church or a getting ready location to a church, I would put 3 o'clock travel time to church. So we're gonna assume in this case, you're not going to a ceremony location, but you're coming from a getting ready location. I'm using an example of like my wedding. We're going to be getting ready at a hotel, doing all of our first looks there, and then we're going to travel to the ceremonial location, which will also be the reception location. I feel like this is the case for most weddings, so I'm gonna kind of go off that premise. In this case, our travel time is about 10 minutes. So I'm going to account for 30 minutes saying, hey, leave at this time. So we'll say 3 o'clock. We're gonna leave at 3 o'clock, but that also means I know that my friends and family tend to run behind. So I'm going to account for that. On the off chance they're running behind, they will still make it on time. That matters a lot, right? In my case, we're going to do a first look with bridesmaids, first look with groomsmen, first look with parents, and first look with groom. I'm going to assume 4 different first looks. They take about 5 to 10 minutes each. We will say 30 minutes is probably a safe assumption for the amount of time we need for that. And I would put another 30-minute buffer time here for cool down. After those first looks, there's a lot of emotions. You kind of need to get all those out. So we'll put an hour before this, will be 2 o'clock. We're gonna start first looks. So before first looks is getting ready. And quite frankly, I don't wanna go too far into depth on that because the truth is that's gonna come down to your makeup artist, your hairstylist, and how many people you have in the wedding party that are getting that done. On the guy's side, I will say they get ready in about 5-10 minutes, so it's super fast. They normally just get dressed, comb their hair, done. On the bride side, they're normally starting on a day like this, okay? We're talking ceremony at 4. They're normally starting at 7, 8, 9, around there to get ready. And then we're showing up on the tail end of it. So you have your hairstylist do all of the wedding party's hair, everybody's makeup, and you're normally last to get your makeup done. And then when they're doing your makeup, we arrive, we capture the tail end of that, and then we capture your getting ready. And this is normally with your mother, with your bridesmaids, stuff like that. And then we go into first looks. The other thing that I just want to touch on is sometimes people will do their wedding party photos and family photos before the ceremony. This leaves time for a party bus or something like that after the ceremony. If you were to do that, all you're gonna do, take this, oh, actually buffer time stays there. So take this, right? And you're just going to move it up. That's it. You're just gonna move it earlier and then move your wedding party photos and family photos up. I told you about how long it takes, an hour and a half between both of them. Should be plenty of time. I would just move all of that up and plan it right after the first looks. So you can go first looks straight into it. I also would leave the travel time, I'm sorry about that. But that's the gist. So one more tip I just wanna give you, please assign a point person. This can be your mom, this can be a bridesmaid, maid of honor, whatever it is. You do wanna assign a point person that's going to make sure that the schedule stays on track, as well as someone that maybe knows everybody. And that way during family photos or during wedding party photos, if someone's acting up or if someone's not there, they can yell for that person. As a photographer, I don't know your entire family, unfortunately. So your cousin Joe that's in the bathroom, I won't know he's missing. But if your maid of honor or something like that does know, she would be a great point person. Okay, so hopefully you got a pretty good idea of how to build a timeline for your wedding day. Just remember, they're not a rule book, they're a guide for your wedding day. Things will happen, that's why we have buffer time. Don't be stressed if it doesn't go perfectly, work around it, right? And there's going to be a whole team of vendors that you're gonna have there that are hopefully gonna make this easier for you. And I promise it will work out. Finally, in the next video, we're gonna talk about designing your guest experience and going over all of that. So please feel free to take a look at that video. Thank you guys for watching.
You know
Bye.
that I feel good, doing things I never thought I could.